welcome to another vinyl video, and it's been a really long time since we've done one of these, but it's my 1000 greatest vinyl LPs from my collection, and I've still got a long way to go to get that 1000 in, but today we're going to concentrate on Kate Bush. Now, we've already done Hounds of Love, so my favourite Kate Bush album is out of the mix, which is all very well because there's quite a lot of Kate Bush albums to go through, and picking just 6 is quite tough work. We're going to start off with Kate Bush's debut LP. This is The Kick Inside, and this was her first release, although she'd been signed to EMI for a number of years previously, and there's a couple of tracks on this which were actually recorded a number of years before this came out. Now there's quite a collection here, because Dave Gilmour from Pink Floyd was the person who really pushed to bring Kate Bush to the attention of EMI, and he actually, I think it's, yeah, there we are. Much thanks and love to Dave Gilmour for rolling the ball in the beginning, I think he features, yeah, here we are, executive producer Dave Gilmour on The Man with the Child in His Eyes, which was of course the second single to be released from this album, and also the saxophone song. The big singles off this, already mentioned one, but the other, Wuthering Heights, debut single, and apparently the proceeds from the 7-inch single sales were enough that Kate Bush was actually able to build her own home recording studio from the proceeds. I don't know how true that is, but it is what I've heard. And now, as with all Kate Bush albums, we have the KT symbol on the sleeve artwork. But this one, it is painfully obvious. So we've got it up here in the little kite motif. The KT is there in the wing. It's the easiest one to find out of all of the LPs. And then on the front, we've got this glorious big picture. It's actually somewhat 70s, and she does look rather spray tanned. But there we go. And this picture on the front references things like the track Kite. There are some really good album tracks on this, things like James and the Cold Gun, and I'll be mentioning this with one of the later albums that I review as well, but also stuff like, let's have a look, what have we got on it? Feel It, Moving, saxophone song is great, to be honest. It is a really good debut, and there's a very good reason why Kate Bush did go on to be such a popular artist. We're going to put that one to one side, and we're going to go almost to the other end of the spectrum. At least this is the last album that she did before she had something like a 10-year hiatus, and this is The Red Shoes, and this is heavily inspired by, I think it's a fairy tale about the woman who puts on the red shoes and then dances herself to death. And there is actually a film that Kate Bush made, it features Miranda Richardson in it as well, called The Cross, the Line and the Curve, which utilises a lot of the songs from this album. But on the front there, bit of housekeeping here, the KT symbol, if we turn it on its side you can see it there. Interestingly enough, on the CD sleeve for this album, that just isn't there. It's quite clearly been airbrushed onto the picture afterwards, and they used the wrong picture for the CD cover. Fairly bland front cover, but on the back it's very nice and colourful. We've got all of this fruit here, and on this we've got big singles from this. Rubber Band Girl was quite a big single. Moments of Pleasure is, in my view, my favourite Kate Bush single. I've got that on 12-inch single. And then let's have a look. Constellation of the Heart, I think, may have been a single. Possibly And So Is Love. But one of my other favourites from this album is Lily, and that actually did inspire me to write quite a lot of stuff at the particular period that I got into this album. That song I found very, very inspiring. Of course, she had the 10-year hiatus after that, and came back in the new millennium with this album, Ariel. And I have to say, good though this album is, it feels, I think it's because of the build-up. On a 10-year wait, people really expect something special. And the truth was that Kate Bush took the time off to bring up her children and for them to have a semblance of a normal life. So she certainly wasn't working on the music for all of those 10 years. But the big single from this, in fact, I think from memory, the only single from this was King of the Mountain, which is said to be inspired by Elvis Presley. Other than that, there's not really a huge amount of standout tracks on this. It's good music, but there's no reach out and grab you tracks. Some of the other tracks are inspired by various things. There's a track called Bertie on this, inspired by her son. We've got the front cover artwork. That's actually an audio wave, as you'd see it on a computer. It looks like islands reflected in the sea, which I think is kind of what the look they're trying to go for, but that's what it actually is. So we'll put that one to one side. And we're going to go back again to, this is Kate Bush's fourth album, and this is The Dreaming. This wasn't a massive commercial success, but I do really like this, and there's a lot of inspiration on this drawn from the likes of Houdini, with a kiss I'd pass the key is the little phrase written on the back. We've got a track called Houdini, but also we've got big singles from this: Sat in Your Lap, The Dreaming. Dreaming didn't do quite so well. Didgeridoo on that is played by Rolf Harris, I believe, so a bit topical considering he's been doing naughty stuff and been found out for it. But also, There Goes a Tenor was a single which failed to chart, and I do actually have that on 7-inch. It's probably one of my rarer Kate Bush singles. The KT symbol, I'm trying to remember on this where it is. Ah, yeah, I can see it there now. Just hidden in the pattern of the sleeve of her jacket is the KT symbol. So on this this album cover, that's where it is. It is an interesting album. It's very experimental for its time, and I think that's probably why commercially it wasn't a great success. She did, of course, come back with The Hounds of Love, which is my favourite Kate Bush album, and arguably the most commercially successful. But we've already reviewed that, so we're going to move on now. This is, well, it's not strictly speaking an album. This is Kate Bush on stage, and technically it's an EP. But I've got the Japanese issue of it here, which was released on 12-inch as opposed to the 7-inch that it came out in the UK. And the reason I cite this as being a very good Kate Bush album is because it has a full-length version of James and the Coal Gun. This is much longer than it was on the Kick Inside album, and it goes on, and it's good. It's really good. It also features Them Heavy People, L'amour Looks Something Like You, and Don't Push Your Foot on the Heartbreak. So tracks on the Live on Stage tour, I think it was called the Tour of Life, came primarily really from her first two albums. They're the only two albums that had been released at this point. And what's quite interesting is that with Kate Bush, she wrote a lot of tracks for her first album, her second album, and in part for her third and fourth album, whilst she was signed to AMI, but not actually releasing material. Now it's interesting, she was signed very young, but EMI allowed her a lot of space, a lot of time to effectively go through her schooling and to, define her sound. It's something you'd never really hear of being done in this day and age with an artist. But this is, again, quite a rare album, EP, 12-inch single, and it is really good. The Tour of Life was quite pivotal for the fact that it featured a lot of choreographed dance moves, costume changes done live, and also it was the first time that a headset microphone appeared, and this was actually developed and made out of an old wire coat hanger by one member of her crew, to enable her to have the freedom to move about as she wanted on stage. Of course, the headset mic has gone on and been used very extensively, certainly by artists such as Madonna or Michael Jackson, but this is where it all began. The tour is also significant because it saw the death of one of her lighting crew who fell from the lighting gantry during one of the shows, and it has been rumoured that that's one of the reasons why she'd never toured since. She has, of course, now announced a new tour, but she does officially say that that's not the reason. She just found it incredibly strenuous. And the person who actually fell and died on the tour is name-checked in Moments of Pleasure on the Red Shoes album, which also name-checks a lot of other people, including her parents, producers, people at Abbey Road. It's quite a moving track, but we get behind ourselves. We've already done that. The final of the 6 albums that I've picked to review in this video is the Sensual World, and this was her penultimate album before the 10-year hiatus. And on this we've got a lot darker use of tracks here. It's also the period where she recorded a standalone 7-inch single, which was used on the tribute to Elton John and Bernie Taupin album 2 Rooms, and that was Rocket Man. And it can be heard on that Rocket Man single, which I've got on a 7-inch. It sounds like it belongs on this album, and it's because it was recorded during the same sessions. But on this we've got big singles, This Woman's Work, but also Sensual World, and I think Love and Anger was also a single, and possibly Deeper Understanding. Back then, a lot more singles were released off albums. Now, she's primarily more interested in the album tracks, and apart from that King of the Mountain, she doesn't really do singles now. But my favourites on this, I love The Fog, but also Rocket's Tale is a standout, excellent track on this. I believe the CD version of this album also includes a bonus track, which I think, but don't quote me on this, is Be Kind to My Mistakes, which is actually the B-side to This Woman's Work, the single. So I do have that track, because I've got that single on picture discs, 7-inch picture disc, and it comes with a lovely sleeve as well. Anyway, that's 6 Kate Bush albums, which I believe are some of her finest. 6 more albums in our 1000 videos from my vinyl wall behind me. Anyway, you take good care of yourself. Don't forget to like this video and share it too. And subscribe to the channel, because you know you want to. Anyway, until next time, you take very good care of yourself. Bye for now.